Hi, it's Bruce. Welcome to my Manifest Your Dreams video series. We started the other day by being on a point, to align ourselves into space, to have a physical presence and experience what it is like to be grounded and to be here. Then we took that in our next series and we sat on the ground, we sat on the point like in a meditation position, and we arched forward into a forward plane, this line right here, just with our spine. Okay, and found out a little bit of things of the internal workings of a flexed spine and up. But what happens in three-dimensional space is that was in this one line, this moving forward in this plane, right? Now, I've talked about several videos or several blogs about the In the Box series. And this is about the fact that I was arguing the point that there is no outside of the box, right? It's all in the box. This is your box. This is your point in space. This is your working zone. And we want to map that out and have a good idea of what that feels like for us. So today we're going to explore what that box is through movement. Now there's a whole study in dance called Laban Bar-Chineff that covered what's it like to move in these different dimensions. You see, you have these, in a square or in a cube, you have a number of planes. You have the frontal plane, you have the side plane, and you have a table plane, right? And if you imagine that you're in a cube and in a box, then each time you put a movement toward that, it has a certain a quality to it. For instance, if I go forward and push, or if I go forward, the natural energetic reading is as if I'm pushing. So if I, right, it's sudden. It has a right? Even whether I have my hands or not, boom, right? And if I go back, it's, you know, like, whoa, I'm taken aback, right? You know, we use these expressions, oh, I'm taken aback, and whoa, you know, it's a little bit of, or a surprise, you know. So just that movement in that space has its own sort of emotional quality to it and a feeling quality to it. So we want to map that external area of what those dimensions are like, because those external areas are similar and also in our imagination and in our kinesthetic body and in our internal space. So when we begin to meditate and I begin to give descriptions and images for you, you'll have these feeling states of your kinesthetic body, your feeling body, kinesthetic body on your internal planes also. So find yourself a point. Right now, at first I put a point on a tape. Well, today I have a cross. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not. I have a cross and I've allocated and marked out the four corners. So here's front, side, back, and then the corners, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And we're going to explore just moving in that. But, you know, with me we're going to explore moving with a pulse, a wave of connection with energy. And energy, remember, in the most basic way, has a feeling of lightness and heaviness, and you could push it and you could pull it and it pauses. So let's start with our this sort of like Tai Chi, Jin Shin Do, simple exercise where we get the energy grounded, and then we'll move on from there. So ground down, soften the knees slightly, let the belly drop, let the breath drop down into the belly. Let your hands be heavy. Feel a sense of weightedness moving down through the hands. And then this is as if you're moving in water, and just easy breathe in and bring the hands up out in front of you as if they're pressing against water, and then pull the water in and then bring it toward your body and exhale from the navel, push out. That has the eyes of your focus also goes out to space into a specific point in front of you, and then bring it back in, breathe into the low belly, so the energy comes down here, fills up, and then let it sink down into the center of the earth. Now let's bring it up and bring it in. This time when you go forward and push, you're going to step with your right leg and just go push and extend it out past the edge of the square that we have, and bring it back in and come back to center. And then we'll just push again. Push with the other leg. And in. And send it down. Excellent. Breathe in. Now, 5, Let's go ahead and push out, but stay here. Now pull it backwards and step to the back. Pull back, and then come back to center, and other leg pull back, and come to center. Now from the belly button, I want you to go toward your diagonal, and we're going to touch the top corner. So breathe in, gather, and just step out and touch that corner, and then stretch the other arm to the back corner. Go ahead and look where it is. Make that line a straight, clear line. See, if we're not there, we're not, if we're there, we're not in the corner. So make it over to the corner, press your hip toward that, and see what sort of line you have, and then come back to your belly button in the center. And we'll go to the other side. First, touch the corner up in the high corner, point to the back corner, ground yourself down. Take a breath in, exhale, and push energy out to each corner, and let the hands spiral open. See what that does to your shoulders, your sternum, and come back toward the center. We're going to go to the back right corner. With the right foot, touch it, and take the right hand down, anchor. Then take your left hand to the upper left corner. Push, exhale from the navel, the ribs spiral down, the shoulders drop, the hands spiral, and come back to the belly button, and go toward the other diagonal, back left. Anchor yourself, take the hand there first, then take the right hand to the upper right hand corner, exhale, spiral, come to center. Now I want you to touch the right side and just push and place your foot right in and push the edge without going past. Push the edge of your box. Another way, and to the left side, just push, press to the edge of the box. Meet resistance and come back home. So we did a soft exploration. We're just going to go front, back, right corner, front, left corner, back, right corner, and back left, then right side and left side. Breathe in and push right foot. This is all on the right foot. 1, to the back. 2, right corner. 3, left corner. 4, back right corner. 5, back left corner. 6, right side. 7 and 8 and home. I pulled one on us, huh? I kept the same foot to all the corners. I didn't switch. So we got the template. We're going to do it to the left side. Breathing in and left foot and 2 and 3 and 4. Whoa, and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and back home. So we're mapping out what our body likes to do in these corners of the space. What if we go to the lower corner, right? What if we go as low as we can? Front, touch. Back, touch. Front corner, touch. Across, touch. Back, and back, and side, and side. Other way. Boom. And back. Front left. Boom. And cross. And back left. And back right. And side. And side. And center. Now if you're doing that with me, you begin to feel your rib cage squeezing in on its torso, your hips crossing center, your body squeezing itself, right? You begin to open the joints and go through a full motion in the joints. It's healthy. It's healthy for the joints to move. And if you have an injury, you want to get it to be able to move in all these planes, in these grids. So you have this box here, but there's also just a box right in here, my shoulder. Front, back, diagonal, back, other diagonal, diagonal, right? So I can move that shoulder in all of those parts of my box. Other shoulder, I can move it through all those parts of the box. Both shoulders, move them through all the parts of the box. You begin to open up the gateway When you open up the gateway, the muscles, the ligaments, you begin to pour energy, open up energy into places. It's like, sort of like one of my teachers, these are closets in your house, and maybe you threw a bunch of stuff into the closet and you shut the door and you forgot about it, but then you realize you got to go clean out your house, and you go, I've had this injury here for 20 years. Well, why don't you start clean that out, clean that out. And the thing about cleaning it out, there's muscle tension, there's memory tension, there's nerve tension. It's all stored in there, and you've taken energy into your house, into your box, into your identification, and you've put this, this crunch into it. Well, we can begin to put awareness, energy, prana, chi, breath. We can put the breath in, but it needs form, it needs some structure, it needs a sense of measurement, so we know where we're going. So we know, that movement's pretty good, but this one, crunch, crunch, crunch. Well, wait, what if I make more space under here? Hey, you know what? I just moved through this injured shoulder. I have an injured shoulder. I'm now moving through it with space, up and down with space, with a sense of exploration. I'm not crunching it. I just crunched it. I'm not crunching it. Hey, I'm moving with a sense of space and energy and awareness. So, prana brings a sense of space. Prana's energy, it expands out, so I can get my box now, so it's not so collapsed, and begin to open it. I'm now moving over those crunch points in that shoulder. Now the body's complicated because when this crunched, right, boom, when I got whammed, I went out to the ocean, a wave hit me, slammed me down, never been hit so hard in my life. And I played football through college. So I've been hit pretty hard. This was way beyond, Mother Nature whapped me, okay? Well, you get whapped here really hard. Guess what happens? The whole body does this, right? So even if it's on an infinitesimal level of the nervous system, it's well, so that's an over here. So after a year, this side began to hurt, and after a year, this began to act differently. This started to pull up, something in my spine. So the whole body is, so we want to go open up those areas. So I need some measure. I need to know that this line here, I can begin to fill it up and explore this line, explore this ribbon, begin to go, there's a measure. What can I do to open up all these areas? So there's a nice line. What if I extend it up? Does that feel good? What does it do to my balance? What does it do to my rib cage? And you learn to read energy, and you begin to read, that's a bigger breath. I got a bigger breath moving through there. That feels good. What can I do? I can let it begin to spiral open. What can I do? All right. Now, yoga, if you want to take it into a more strict form, right? These gifts, these seeds of opening, these poses, right? Go in and learn all the way through the whole body. What it's like to be grounded, to sit, to meticulously go through a pose, to really map it out all over the body, so that this quadrant, this square, quadrant square, this one, the one on my feet, the one on my pelvis, the one up through my chakras, they're all balanced and open wide, right? Now if I find myself crunching in on one side, right, let's say my shoulder, well, if something's crunching in here, something's crunching in somewhere else, whether it's over here, whether it's this foot, this body is a symbiotic mechanism. It's integrated all the way. So if I'm crunching in this shoulder here, something here, so I can, open up my hip. Oh, my face just opened up here. Open up the hip a little more, ground it here. The shoulder's beginning to open up. Okay, that opened up. Wait a minute, now this one's starting to open. Right, you just kind of move through and open up this whole body mechanism, right? This whole space. So it's breathing and tossing. That's why in the box, in the box, gives you a sense of measurement. It gives you a form to work with. Now that box doesn't have to be a square, right? We can get really technical and move it through different angles. Any angle begins to have a teaching moment and space to it. There's archetypical energies in all these angles. Our gods sat in certain angles and shapes. You could see it and you could feel it. You can allow that information to be present for you. How do you know when you're in it? You gotta wait. You gotta let yourself be aligned by that geometry. You gotta let yourself embrace and be in relationship to the movement of that energy. But you can know that these angles are points in space where your energy, when you're aligned with it, begin to vibrate and magnify. Watch this. We did this before. Let the energy move to the center of the earth. We're right up the vertical line. Drop down, because you need opposition to create energy, right? So if I drop, then I can rise, because I need something to pull against. So I'm dropping down through my pelvis and my feet until I go all the way up to the high point. My legs are spiraling down, embracing the earth. Yet another side of my body is spiraling up, reaching for the heavens. Now, I separate my space, right? I'm pulling away. I'm moving away from the center anchoredness. That means there's a pull. There's a feeling of pulling out. Now, as I go out and I hit the corner, as if my box is up there, that square, here's a cardinal point, right? It's a pressure point, a precious pressure point. I could press against it and I gain strength, because you gain strength when you meet your resistance. I come down to the 90-degree cross line. There's another point, because if I press on that, I could push myself up. It's harder from here, but I can bring myself up by pressing against that plane. I'm going to begin. I've gone out wide. Here I was pushing out. Now I'm pulling in. I'm pulling into center, right? And there's a pressure point here, right at the 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to push in right in towards center. And anchor myself around this spiral of energy that's going up and down. I'm pushing in, and I'm activating that spiral even more, because I brought in the forces right in and grounded them into the earth. If I want to go to the right, keep my left hand here centered, right here. There's a plane right here, and I'm going to push into that to keep stability, right? Keep my stability. That gives me something to pull against. I'm pulling against. Now this pulling out, I'm pulling from here, pulling out, and then at some point I'm halfway, I got to begin to press, right? I got to push. So I pull to the point along my way. So here, if this is a line, there's got to be a middle way, halfway in between. Here's my point of resistance at the side of my box. Here's the center of my box. So there's going to be a wave that goes out halfway and then all the way to the edge. Well, each part along this tension, remember the whole body is a hologram. I'm pulling, so the whole body up and down has this part of pulling. My ribs are coming in, my feet are spiraling. Now I've reached halfway and the dynamics change. I can begin to push. Now this one, in order to keep stabilization, I can't keep pushing this necessarily. I got to start pulling away, because I'm pulling away in this line of energy. Pulling and pulling, and my feet change, and my hips change. My breath changes, my ribs change, and I can push and gain strength. Now look what I got. I have strength here against this wall, against this side of my plane. I could lean into this and gain strength. I could push into this, and when I want to push, look what happens to the rest of the body, right? I'm going to push out against a plane of resistance, and the energy from that pushing moves down through the body into the earth, spirals down, and at that point, right, it's my right leg that's anchored, my left leg is free to express itself, and down. Yeah, I'm getting warm, right? I'm pressing and pulling and playing all these dynamics, right? Here's one to the front. What do I need for the front? I need something behind me to keep my stability. Now, I put out there, I just don't want it to drop. I'm going to pull back from that space into center so I can place it back down into the center of the earth. So in my box, full of dynamics of pushing and pulling and allowing and letting go, and it has these places, points of resistance and form. Now, if you read through in the box Walter Russell talks about the cube and the dynamics of it being a reflective space that comes back in. So energy goes out to the edge, and it hits the edge, hits the plane, and it reflects itself, and it comes back in towards center. Well, it's doing that, this point of movement, this inspiration to move, it's doing that. Well, let's just take left and right now before we go into front, back, up, and down and all the dimensions. So if it goes out to the edge, hits the edge, and comes back in. Now, it does that in a pattern that has a beginning, middle, and end. So the beginning, middle, end, though, has a pattern. It's a pattern of 8. So my 0 point in the center, 1 and halfway on my wave, and 2, 3, 4 to the edge, and then it comes back in and echoes back in. So I can begin to move in waves of expanding and contracting energy. Now, here, gotta get this. Gotta learn to think in abstractions. This is not concrete. If it's concrete, there would be a line here, and it comes in here. The only line in space is truly one in my imagination. It doesn't exist, right? This is really a spiral of energies coming in and going out at the same time, and narrowing it down into what, by the time it gets so narrow, we might think that it's like a straight line, but it's really a dynamic of energies moving out, and energies moving back in. Whoop, front and back, shoo, and back behind you, and then corners in and back corners in and opposite corners in and opposite corners in and up and down, down and up. These are all dynamic moving spirals of oppositional forces. And if you can give them a shape of your corners and your quadrants, you begin to have points of resistance to create impeccable balance. Right? Balance. Because I'm anchored on this plane and that plane, and this leg is anchored on that plane, and that hip's anchored and pressing on that plane, and this foot's pressing down on that plane. And the body, you develop to be a fluid mechanism to allow those energies to keep moving and spiraling into this, well, it is a sensuous trip, right? When your whole body is pulsing in all these different rhythms and reflections. So, do we need more today? Let's see. I kind of think I ran the gamut of exploration. This does fit into a course for you to learn to visualize and take these energies through the different energy centers, chakras, and begin to open each one of those centers and begin to bring in your life force energy into them and ground them and to get them stable. So you start with one and then you build upon the other. It's like building up little cubes in boxes for each of those energy centers to go into, and then you begin to feel that expansion out to the edge and in. And you need to be able to clarify where the corners are, because the corners in the geometry are going to magnify the energy and catapult them to a higher dimensionality. Right? So we want to first cover it through the external space before we take it into our internal spaces. And I only say that because I experienced teaching this to a very large group of people, and this was the only way I really was able to effectively do this. So that's where we're starting today, and thank you for joining me, and I'm excited about where we're moving to. All right? So, namaste.